Today, I want to talk about how more banks are about to collapse and how this will cause the squeeze due to idiosyncratic risk. So many shills out there say they won't let AMC squeeze again, but I want to explain why that is not the case. So stay tuned and let's make some money. Before I dive in with the key information, I want to quickly talk about Shazad, who's up 81% on his entire account since joining last Thursday, with 5 out of 6 profitable trades today. He said he's been watching me mention the Millionaire Mindset trading group on my videos for a few months now, and always thought about joining, but never did. But he finally took the step last week on Thursday, and has so far made £813 from a £1,000 initial investment. He took 6 trades today on CNXA, making $480, AGFY, LYT, MINM, RVSN and NEXI, most for 10 to 15% with one small loss. But now to dive straight in with the key information. So, Peruvian Bull tweeted saying New York Community Bancorp just opened down 40%. So in one day from Tuesday night to Wednesday morning, this US bank dropped 40% because it missed earnings and it cut its dividend by 71%. So New York Community Bancorp is the bank whose unit took over the defunct Signature Bank's non-crypto related deposits. So I imagine New York Community Bancorp has experienced and is still experiencing significant deposit outflows. On top of that, MFHO's tweet is saying the significant drop follows a substantial increase in their provision for credit losses, soaring to $552 million. So New York Community Bancorp is expecting to take a one-off giant loss of $552 million. Those realised losses I was speaking about last video. Obviously, that's only a tiny portion of the $1.2 trillion, but this is just one regional bank feeling the heat. Many other banks out there are still losing hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars, tens of billions, and hundreds of billions. And that's exactly why the Bank Term Funding Program, aka the Bank Bailout Facility, didn't just increase in March 2023 and then plummet back to zero. It increased all year and has still been increasing through December and through January. You can see from March, the Bank Term Funding Program popped up to around $80 billion on loan to bail out these banks. It increased midway through the year to $107 billion and has now just increased from $161 billion to $167 billion. And actually, if you look, the majority of this increase has actually come since November 29th, 2023 through to January 2024 or January 24th, 2024. So that means these regional and major banks are still in trouble and are actually in worse trouble now than they were back in March of 2023. The only slight difference that we don't have just yet is another bank run, but I'm sure that's still in the works, and as more banks start failing, I'm sure another bank run will be happening. If the financial system was absolutely fine, we'd see this Bank Term Funding Program sharply dropping back to zero, because why would banks need a bailout if the financial system was fine? The fact this number is not zero and the fact this number is still increasing shows the financial system is in trouble. Then obviously it shows banks are in trouble, and that shows the squeeze will happen. Now, Biggums has actually retweeted this tweet from Ryan Cohen back from May 2023, saying the Fed may have to choose between fighting inflation or bank contagion. And if you paid attention to the FOMC meeting results, which I did today, the Fed have said they will not be cutting interest rates, and interest rates will be remaining higher for longer. The Fed have said it's not appropriate yet to cut interest rates due to inflation not being at 2%. And they've basically said they will not be cutting in March, and they likely will not be cutting in May of 2024 either. And if the Fed is still choosing to fight inflation, that means more bank contagion is around the corner. I also wanted to go through our trade on CNXA, where Shazad locked in over $400. CNXA today ran 146%. Now, I actually saw CNXA around here at 5 minutes past 2, where I sent a photo into the group, but I didn't alert it until a few minutes later, which is what I've used for the percent gain. But with CNXA, you could have jumped in when the news was released. You could have waited for that first pullback and got in on a second breakout. You could have got in here on the third breakout or in here on the fourth breakout. Either way, it would have led to some massive gains, and it's the kind of trade we take every single day in the Millionaire Mindset trading group. So guys, be sure to join using the link in the description below. As Citadel said, it's likely the Fed is potentially going to wait too long to cut rates and cause a recession and mass mortgage defaults. As a result, banks will suffer too, banks will collapse, banks will take on margin calls, and banks will be liquidated. As I said, you can see the Federal Reserve holds interest rates steady as the market focuses on timing of 2024 cuts. And the Fed officials are seeking greater confidence that inflation is falling to its 2% target before implementing those cuts. And as Paul T tweeted, he said, "Can someone explain why a company with a tiny market cap like GameStop and AMC were characterized as idiosyncratic risks to the entire stock market and the entire financial system?" Let's recall our mind back to 2021 and remember that actually AMC was responsible for more of an idiosyncratic risk than GameStop was. But regardless of which was more of a risk than which, why are two companies that had around a $20 billion market cap threatening the entire stock market valued at $52 trillion plus? How could two companies only worth $20 billion bring down a $52 trillion stock market, unless there was significantly more than $20 billion betting against these two stocks? And now the key part in there is the word was. Realistically, I think that word should be changed to still is, because we know the shorts haven't closed out of their short positions, and that's why short interest is at record pre-split highs. And that's just the legally disclosed short interest, let alone all of the synthetics on top. And now, what's perhaps the most crazy part out of all of this is the fact that it's not just banks that are struggling, it's also tons of corporations across the US and around the world. Macro Edge has tweeted saying 198 tech firms cut jobs this month, the highest since February 2023. And you might say, Tom, that doesn't really sound too crazy. Tech firms cutting headcount, the highest it's been since February 2023. Doesn't really sound that high. Is it as high as 2008? And what about all the years in between? But the important thing to realise is that every single month this year in 2023, pretty much over 100 tech firms around just the US has been laying off thousands and thousands of staff members every single month. 198 companies, plus banks on top of that, laid off thousands of employees this month alone. And it seems that's going to continue happening as more and more banks go bankrupt and as more and more companies go bankrupt as well. We really are pushing into an entire black swan event that will cause more bank runs, more bank contagion, more bank collapses, and the squeeze. And finally, I also wanted to talk about this tweet from Jake Fredo, who said, "Holy smokes, they're doing it again, because they've just created another GameStop crypto." This article says the GameStop meme coin is up 330%. GME, the token, could flip actual GameStop, the stock. Now, as Jake said, that's exactly what happened back in January of 2021 when they created the GameStop tokenized securities and, of course, the AMC tokenized shares too. It seems they're trying to do it once more, creating another tokenized security for GameStop, and I'm sure there's one for AMC alongside right now in 2024. It says the GameStop meme coin surged 330% in 24 hours as interest exploded on social media. Now, while this does draw more people towards GameStop and AMC, it also gives the shorts a way out by creating more tokenized securities, which they can use as false locates. Now, technically, it doesn't give the shorts a way out because it doesn't mean they're closing short positions. It just means they're using false locates to avoid incurring FTDs. The liability is still there. The short is still there. They're just simply not reporting the short because they're using a false locate. But as I said, it seems like these shorts really are stressed if they're having to bring back tokenized securities from 2021 into 2024. So guys, be sure to let me know what you think down in the comments below. And as always guys, be sure to ding that notification bell because that way you'll be alerted when I upload a new video. Cheers.